Okay, we have Senator, yeah. Okay, before we start, okay, we're streaming now. Be careful what you say.
I'm not streaming. Before we start, as vice chair of this committee, I just really want to say how proud I was of our team on the floor today. Mr. Chair, Senator Hester, Senator Watson, Senator Harris, Senator Brooks, there was your amendment there were questions about. I mean, it was all, there were so many people who just rose to the occasion, who had value added, and I just thought our committee looked damn fine on the floor. So yay to all of you and all of us for a solid product. And our committee council, oh yeah, there's that little Devin Dodson person, yay. Anyway, there's still a long, long, long way to go, but I think you all acquitted yourself beautifully. And Caroline, we cannot forget Caroline Hecker, thank you on Senator Feldman's staff and everyone else who was a part of this. Long way to go, but let's keep doing it.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, back to work, although I will say I gave Devin a shout out at that dinner the other night, but he left already, so he didn't, so just back me up. Did I not give him a shout out? Okay, good. Okay. It was, okay.
Do it goodbye, you'd still be there.
Okay, let's go to, we're going to start because Devin, with all his work, the only thing he has on the calendar today is the consent calendar. And therefore, let's be able to send Devin on his way. Now, there is one bill, House Bill 270, that I think we need to pull off and segregate from the consent calendar. Again, I'm looking at consent calendar, voting list number 24. Does everybody have that in front of you? And we're going to pull 270 off of there. No, 23 is the regular voting list. I'm talking about consent calendar, voting list 24. Let's make sure.
Does anyone else need?
Yeah, anybody need the consent calendar? We're going to. Anybody else need it? Okay, why don't you take a look through that list and see beyond House Bill 270 if there's any other bills you want to pull off this list. Yes, yes, Senator Hester?
I just wanted to read HB 262.
Okay, that's fair. Well, since we still have Devin here, do you have any questions?
File with shrinking the number of members, right?
Is it the same exact bill? Is it in the same posture?
Yeah, that's why it's on.
Same posture. It has the amendments that you put on the Senate bill that specified that at least one member from the university sector, one member from the private sector, and one member from the nonprofit sector, exactly as the Senate bill left the Senate.
Okay, that's fine. Leave it on.
Okay, that's why it's on the consent calendar.
So I will say that for House Bill 270, you are holding that bill. It's not going to be voted separately. There are some amendments that are being worked out with the department, myself and Senator Simon Ayer.
Okay.
Just House Bill 270,
Yeah.
and that you'll take that up at the next voting session or Monday.
Okay, everybody understands that? 270 is not included on the consent calendar. We're going to try to get an amendment on there. Yes. Okay, is there any? Okay, Senator Harris moves consent calendar.
Second.
Voting list number 24, favorable. Second from the vice chair. Any questions, discussion? All in favor of the consent calendar, raise your hand. All opposed, that motion carries. Devin, you are released. Okay, let's go now to voting list number 23. Starting at the top, April, with House Bill 235, departmental bill.
House Bill 235, Housing and Community Development Neighborhood Business Development Program Local Approval Requirement. This departmental bill allows the Department of Housing and Community Development to approve an application for financial assistance under the Neighborhood Business Development Program if the political subdivision where the proposed project is located does not respond to a notice of the application from DHCD within 15 days instead of the 45 days under current law. This is the cross file of Senate Bill 47, which we heard very early in session, but which has not moved. I would just note, as introduced, the bill totally eliminated the local review period, which MACO and some of the local jurisdictions objected to. My understanding is that the House amendments, which simply shorten this period rather than removing it entirely, have removed the local's opposition.
Okay, everybody get that? So House Bill, the opposition's been removed. I mean, would we also conform, or would we do, who's?
It's a departmental bill, we don't need that.
Okay, we don't need that.
Need it.
Okay, we're just dealing with the House Bill then, House Bill 235. So we have the amendments that you referenced. I mean, do we need?
So they're already in the bill.
Oh, they're in the
That's
bill.
House amendment.
Okay, so it's clean. Okay, Senator Harris moves House Bill 235 clean. Second from Senator Brooks. Discussion. All in favor, House Bill 235, raise your hand. All opposed, motion carries. Next up, House Bill 240. April?
House Bill 240, Local Comprehensive Plans, Guidance Materials, and Notification to the Department of Planning. This departmental bill, which was not cross-filed, requires each planning commission statewide to notify the Maryland Department of Planning when beginning a review of its local jurisdiction's comprehensive plan at least once every 10 years. The bill requires the Department of Planning to provide the Planning Commission with guidance materials related to state laws, best practices for local comprehensive plans, and any other resources that may support the review, revision, or amendment of the comprehensive plans, and further requires the department to develop and maintain the guidance materials in consultation with other state agencies and offices as the department considers appropriate.
Okay, questions for April on House Bill 240? Anything? Okay, motions? Okay, Senator Harris moves 240, second from the vice chair. Discussion. All in favor, House Bill 240, raise your hand. Opposed, motion carries. House Bill 325. Stacy?
House Bill 325, Education, Professional Standards, and Teacher Education Board composition. This bill alters the composition of the Professional Standards and Teacher Education Board, or PSTEB, by adding an additional representative of the Maryland Association of Non-Public Special Education Facilities, or MANSEF. Accordingly, the governor must appoint from a list of nominees provided by MANSEF one licensed special education teacher currently providing classroom instruction and one administrator or supervisory staff member. The bill also removes the requirement that one board member be a certified non-public school classroom teacher as chosen by the governor from a list of nominees. There are no amendments, and there was no opposition at the hearing.
No amendments, no opposition. We've got Vice Chair Kagan, move, second from Senator Harris. All in favor, House Bill 325, raise your hand. All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Okay, let's go to House Bill 342, April.
House Bill 342, Forestry Licenses, Applicant Qualifications, Alterations. This is another bill that was not cross-filed. This bill alters the educational and experience qualifications for an applicant for a forestry license from the State Board of Foresters. Under the bill, the applicant must have graduated on completion of a 4-year curriculum in forestry from a college or university that is 1, approved by the board, and 2, accredited by the Society of American Foresters. An applicant may also satisfy educational requirements for licensure if the board determines that the applicant's education, including a comparable graduate degree or international degree, is substantially equivalent to statutory requirements. There is an amendment in your voting packet. The amendment appears on page 3. The reprint starts on page 4 from the bill's sponsor, Delegate Baylor. The amendment restores the current requirement that an applicant must have at least 2 years of experience in forestry to qualify for licensure. This provision was accidentally struck by the House amendments.
Okay, we have a motion on that amendment, second from Senator Harris. All in favor of the amendment from Delegate Baylor, raise your hand. All opposed, amendment carries. We now have 342 as amended. Vice Chair moves the bill as amended, second from Senator Brooks. Okay, all discussion? All in favor, House Bill 342 as amended, raise your hand. All opposed, that motion carries. Next up, House Bill 430, Stacy.
House Bill 430, Family Child Care Providers, Reserve Component Members, a Substitute Provider. This bill requires a family child care provider who is a member of a reserve component to designate a substitute to provide family child care during the family child care provider's absence for required training and active service. The designated substitute may provide family child care during the provider's absence for up to 45 working days rather than up to 20 working days under current regulations in any 12-month period. These requirements may not be construed to otherwise limit the authority of the Maryland State Department of Education to establish requirements for a family child care provider to designate a substitute to provide family child care in the family child care provider's absence and the qualifications necessary to serve as a substitute. And the sponsor isn't Simon Air, so that's kind of unusual.
Okay, no amendments?
No amendments and no
Okay,
opposition.
Senator Simon Air?
Yeah, I just had some notes, if you can confirm, that, well, at least the initial one, didn't use the centralized military terms. It was using something military reserves. Did that get updated in the House?
Yes, that was, the original bill as introduced it listed out the reserve services, and then it got substituted for
Great, I move favorable.
reserve components.
Senator Simon Air moves favorable. Second from Senator Harris. Questions? Okay, all in favor of House Bill 430, raise your hand. All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Let's go to House Bill 451.
House Bill 451, Maryland Zero Emission Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Council, membership, duties, and sunset repeal. This bill repeals the termination date for the Maryland Zero Emission Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Council, thereby establishing the council as a permanent entity. The bill also alters the membership and duties of the council and makes permanent an annual reporting requirement. While no member has offered an amendment, I did include in the packet, just for reference, on page 6, that the Department of Transportation has requested to restore representation from the fuel cell electric vehicles industry.
Okay, on that amendment, would anybody like to move that DOT amendment? Okay, Senator Watson moves that amendment, second from Senator Brooks. Any discussion on the Department of Transportation amendment? Okay, all in favor of that amendment, raise your hand. Restoring their membership, all opposed, that amendment carries. Now have 451 as amended in front of us. Any discussion, any motions? Okay, Senator Watson moves favorable. Any second from Senator Brooks? Again, we've got House Bill 451 as amended in front of us. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed. Okay, we've got 2 dissenting votes from Senators Gallion and Carrozza. Okay, got that? Okay, that motion does carry. Okay, let's go to House Bill 663. April?
House Bill 663, Department of the Environment, Federal Environmental Policy, reporting. This bill requires the Maryland Department of the Environment to report to the General Assembly by July 1st, 2026, and every 6 months thereafter on any legally valid changes in federal environmental policy as specified and any steps the state is taking to respond to such changes. The initial report must describe federal environmental policy changes that have occurred since January 1st, 2024, and subsequent reports must describe federal environmental policy changes that have occurred during the immediately preceding 6-month period.
Okay, no amendments? Okay. Okay, questions on House Bill 563? 663, in my reading glasses. 663. Okay, Senator Brooks moves the bill, second from Senator Harris. House Bill 663. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed. We've got Senator Gallion and Senator Carrozza opposed to House Bill 663. And Senator Simon Air. Simon Air, Carrozza, Gallion in the no column. The bill passes, majority vote, 7-3. Okay, House Bill, I'm sorry, 6-3. 6-3. Okay. House Bill 748. Stacy?
House Bill 748, publicly funded pre-kindergarten, early childhood educator career ladder for private providers, new pathways. This bill removes fixed statutory deadlines for meeting certain experiential and educational qualification requirements to qualify for the early childhood educator career ladder for specified eligible private pre-kindergarten providers, and instead establishes relative and ongoing timeframes for meeting those requirements. Specifically, the bill creates a third pathway for early childhood teaching assistants to qualify by holding a high school diploma and earning required credentials within 3 months after being hired, rather than by July 1, 2027. For lead teachers who qualify through the 10-year experience pathway, there is a 2-tiered deadline for earning a required associate degree in early childhood education. A teacher who qualified through the experience pathway on or before July 1, 2024 must earn the degree on or before July 1, 2030. A teacher who qualified through the experience pathway after July 1, 2024 must earn the degree within 6 months after qualifying as a lead teacher. There are no amendments, and there was no opposition.
No amendments, no opposition. Anybody have a motion? Okay, Vice Chair moves favorable. Second, Senator Harris. All in favor, House Bill 748 clean, raise your hand. All opposed? Any opposition? Senator Brooks? No. Your aye? Okay, Bill. Yeah, carries unanimously. Let's go down to House Bill 784, bottom of the page. April?
House Bill 784, Aquaculture, Placement of Shellfish, Bags, Nets, and Structures on Submerged Aquatic Vegetation Extension. This bill extends from June 30th, 2027 to June 30th, 2030, the termination date of a law that allows an aquaculture leaseholder to place shellfish, bags, nets, or structures on submerged aquatic vegetation with specified prior written approval from the Department of Natural Resources. There are no amendments.
Okay, we have a motion from the Vice Chair, second from Senator Harris. Discussion, questions for April? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, House Bill 784 clean, raise your hand. All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Let's go to the next page. House Bill 845, Stacy.
House Bill 845, Higher Education, Student Financial Assistance, Alterations to Scholarship Programs. This bill extends eligibility for the Maryland Community College Promise Scholarship to residents of Del Mar, Maryland, who graduate from Del Mar High School in Delaware. The bill also expands, now this is identical to what the Senate passed in Senator Carrozza's bill, and there was a hearing today on this bill. Not many people were present, but the House added an amendment that expands eligibility for the Fallen Transportation Workers Scholarship Program to include specified surviving transportation workers. Accordingly, the bill adjusts the name of the scholarship, the name of the associated special fund, and the statutory program purpose. The bill also expands the relationships to fallen and surviving transportation workers that qualify an individual for eligibility as. Lastly, eligible uses for the Fallen Transportation Workers Scholarship are expanded to include the total cost of attendance at any institution of post-secondary education. There is one amendment offered by the chair. It's on page 7 of your packet, and a reprint begins on page 8. And this amendment adds financial dependency provisions for unmarried partners and strikes the provisions extending eligibility for siblings of surviving transportation workers.
Okay, well, let's, before we move the amendment, let's take some questions. We had the hearing earlier. We had Delegate Adams here. I assume he's talked to you. And we had Delegate Klippinger here as well. They both testified today. Okay, we're going to go with Senator Watson first, just questions on the amendment.
Yeah, quick question for Stacy. So Stacy, there's a Del Mar, Maryland, and a Del Mar, Delaware?
Yes.
It is?
Yes.
So I did. So I'm assuming they're close, they abut each other, right? And so folks in the Maryland side go to the school on the Delaware side, but we want to give them scholarships, is that right?
So the way the Promise Scholarship was written, you had to attend a Maryland high school. So just those students who, even though they're Maryland residents, they attend a high school in Delaware. So the original bill was to change that and allow those students to be eligible for the Promise Scholarship.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Senator Carrozza, you want to weigh in on the amendment?
Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri.
Appreciate the question, and yes, we want to make sure our Del Mar High School students who live in Maryland are eligible for the Maryland Promise Scholarship. And we had to put it in law because the school is physically in Del Mar, Delaware. So that's, and then as far as the new piece about the fallen
Transportation workers.
Delegate Adams and has been in contact with me, and I think it's great that we can serve those students as well.
Okay. So we have an amendment, actually, two amendments?
Just one.
Just one. Okay, we got a motion from Senator Harris, second from the Vice Chair on local House Bill 845 as amended. All in favor? Raise your hand. Okay, did I just do the amendment? We just did the, yeah, okay. Now let's move the bill. Anybody want to move the bill as amended? Vice Chair moves 845, Senator Harris. Okay, 845 as amended is before us. All in favor of 845 as amended? Raise your hand. Everybody raising their hand on this one? 845 as amended from your count. Okay, that motion carries. Let's next move to House Bill 925, which I think was a cross-file of Senator Love's bill that we passed. Okay, House Bill 925, April.
House Bill 925, Sewage Sludge Per and Polyfluoroalkyl Substances Regulation. This bill establishes prohibitions and restrictions related to the land application of sewage sludge that has a total concentration of regulated PFAS equal to or greater than specified levels. The bill is nearly identical to Senate Bill 719 as unanimously passed by the Senate. The only difference has to do with how long commingling operations can use something called a mass balance calculation to determine PFAS levels. If you are curious, you can take a look in your voting packet on page 15. I've highlighted the language there. Basically, the only difference is the House said that they could use that mass balance calculation for a period of 12 months after they begin commingling operations. The Senate bill had said essentially a period of 12 months following passage of the bill, so ending on October 1st, 2027. I have talked to MDE and the sponsor. All the stakeholders are in agreement. They want to go with the House version, so we should just pass it clean.
Okay, any questions about this small modification to the bill that we did pass out of the Senate earlier? Yes, Senator Hester.
I would just like to understand exactly what the difference is. What page was it on?
So if you look on page 15 of the voting packet, this language that's highlighted there that I've got the star next to. So the House version of the bill says for a period of not more than 12 months following the date that commingling operations begin, a commingling operation may use a mass balance calculation to determine the concentration of regulated PFAS in the commingled product. The way the Senate version passed, the language is almost identical, except that it says that they can only do that on or before October 1st, 2027. So the question is, when do you start the clock for that 12 months that they're allowed to use that calculation method? House said, and the idea here is that some wastewater treatment plants that are not currently commingling might want to do that in the future. If they start that in the future, they would still have 12 months where they could use this mass balance calculation, where my understanding is it's an easier process than the other methods for testing for PFAS. Versus the Senate version just said you start that 12-month clock when the bill passes, so that even if you started commingling 3 years down the line, it would be too late. You couldn't use that anymore.
Has Senator Love weighed in?
Yes, she wants to go with the House version.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, any other questions for April on House Bill 925? Okay, is there a motion? Okay,
No amendments. So just
no amendments. Motion from Senator Harris, favorable, second from Senator Brooks. All in favor, House Bill 925, raise your hand. All opposed, the motion carries. Let's go to Montgomery County delegation, House Bill 936, Stacy.
House Bill 936, Montgomery County Public Schools Local Food Procurement. This bill requires by September 1, 2027, the Montgomery County Public Schools to identify the dollar amounts of food procured for school meals in the 2026-2027 school year from certified local farms and certified Chesapeake invasive species providers and publish the data on the school's website. Using a school system's website, using the data for the 26-27 school year as a baseline, Montgomery County Public Schools must set target increases for the dollar amount of food procured from certified local farms and certified Chesapeake invasive species providers for the 28-29, 20-30, 31, 31-32, 33-34, 30, and 36-37 school years. The school system, in coordination with the Montgomery County Office of Food Systems Resilience and Public Input, must establish a plan to meet the target increases. There is one amendment offered by Senator Feldman. It's on page 16 of your packet. And there's a reprint beginning on page 17, and it alters the title to read Montgomery County Public Schools, Jane E. Lawton Local Food Procurement. We have received a local letter.
Okay, local bill. Any questions on the amendment?
Favorable on the amendment.
Okay, the Vice Chair moves favorable on this amendment. Yeah, well, let's take a second first.
Yeah.
Before. Second from Senator Harris, yes?
For those who weren't lucky enough to know Jane Lawton, she was a wonderful member of the House of Delegates and a longtime county leader in the Down County area. And there's already a fund named for her in MEA or MCC, MEA, I think. In any case, she is remembered with love.
Okay. Okay, we had a motion second on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment, raise your hand. All opposed, amendment carries. Now we have 936 as amended. Is there a motion?
Favorable.
Favorable from the Vice Chair, second from Senator Harris. All in favor of House Bill 936 as amended, raise your hand. All opposed, motion carries. Let's go to the other Montgomery delegation bill, House Bill 1083. Stacy?
House Bill 1083, Montgomery County Board of Elections membership. This bill alters the membership of the Montgomery County Board of Elections by requiring the local board to consist of 7 regular members, 4 of the majority party and 3 of the principal minority party, rather than 5 regular members and 2 substitute members. If a vacancy occurs, the governor must appoint an eligible person from the same political party as the predecessor member to fill the vacancy for the remainder of the unexpired term and until a successor is appointed and qualifies. The bill also requires an affirmative vote of at least 4, rather than 3, duly confirmed regular members of the local board, at least one of whom must be of the principal minority party, to appoint an election director. The bill takes effect June 7, 2027, the date on which the next term of the board begins. There is one amendment offered by the Montgomery County Senators, which is on page 26 of the packet, with a reprint on page 27. And this amendment requires each substitute member of the board to become a regular member of the board on the effective date of this act and service for the remainder of the term until a successor is appointed and qualified. It strikes the effective date and makes the bill effective June 1, 2026. There is a local letter for this bill.
Okay, the Vice Chair moves the Senate Delegation Montgomery amendment. Second from Senator Harris. All in favor of that amendment, raise your hand. Opposed, amendment carries. We have 1083 as amended in front of us. Okay. Okay, Vice Chair moves the bill. Second from Senator Harris. House Bill 1083 as amended is before us. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, motion carries, which leaves us with one final topic. We have the House and Senate bills on hunting. And let's start with the Delegate Boyce bill, the House Bill 1063. April.
House Bill 1063, Natural Resources, Hunting, Management. House Bill 1063 allows the Department of Natural Resources to authorize the reduction of the deer population on any single contiguous property of at least 10 acres where it has documented deer damage, including by allowing Sunday hunting under that permit. The bill also modifies Sunday hunting hour restrictions during deer firearms seasons in specified counties. and for a 3-year period beginning July 1st, 2027 and ending June 30th, 2030, repeals the existing county-specific Sunday hunting authorizations and instead requires the Department of Natural Resources to adopt regulations pertaining to Sunday hunting. Those regulations, at a minimum, must allow for Sunday hunting in the manner authorized by state statute on June 30th, 2027. However, they may not expand Sunday hunting in Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Howard County, or Prince George's County. The department must report by December 1st, 2029 on the effectiveness of the bill. So this bill is the cross-file of Senate Bill 643, which was heard by the committee earlier this session, but which has not been voted on. The House made a few sort of key changes to the bill as it was introduced. They limited the use of the new deer damage permit, so it no longer covers damage to ornamental plants and landscaping. They expanded the scope and distance of safety zone requirements under that permit, so it now also applies to biking, hiking, and other recreational use trails in addition to horse trails, and is extended from the 25 yards originally proposed in the bill to 150 yards. The House amendment also folded in county-specific bills from Wicomico and Baltimore City, specifically repealing time restrictions on Sunday hunting in Wicomico and authorizing Sunday hunting of deer during bow hunting seasons in Baltimore City. The House struck the authorization under the bill as introduced for the Sunday hunting of migratory bird species. And the House also added uncodified language to clarify that the bill may not be interpreted to allow DNR to authorize Sunday hunting in Baltimore County, Howard County, or Prince George's County, where it is currently prohibited, subject to a few existing exceptions, and as well as authorizations for both the holders of the existing deer management permit and the new deer damage permit created under the bill. There are a number of amendments in your bill packet. The first appears on page 20 of the bill. This amendment is from Senator Hester. This amendment would require the Department of Natural Resources to establish a process for counties to request changes to Sunday hunting regulations that apply in their county. And that would also, the department would have to post that process to the department's website. The amendment also expands reporting requirements under the bill as specified, and requires that the department make interim reports in 2027 and 2028, in addition to the final report in 2029. There's another amendment from Senator Hester starting on page 22. This amendment would prohibit the Department of Natural Resources from authorizing Sunday hunting under the newly established deer management permit in Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Howard County, or Prince George's County. Again, those are the counties that currently have sort of the most restrictive rules regarding Sunday hunting, basically don't allow it at all, except for a few sort of limited things like fox chases. Finally, on page 23, there is an amendment offered by Senator Bailey, who is the sponsor of the Senate version of the bill. Senator Bailey's amendment would authorize the department to allow Sunday hunting for migratory game birds in accordance with federal law. Again, that was a provision that was struck by the House. And carves out Legislative District 43A from the Baltimore City Sunday bow hunting authorization.
Okay, fair amount to unpack. Mr. Padilla, we have DNR here back in the House from yesterday, and Paul, why don't you come up here just for, any questions that pop up here as we're trying to unpack the amendments on the House side and that were put on the bill, and then the Hester amendments and the Bailey amendment. Okay, with all that said, Senator Hester, since a couple of the amendments were from you, why don't you explain the rationale for your amendments, plural?
Okay. Thank you very much. We had a short conversation last evening with DNR. And one of the first questions I asked was, once we move this into regulation, like what is the process by which a local, county or region, goes to DNR if they want to change something? And we talked afterwards, and I was trying to have a standard process, which during, the next 4 years, people could go through. And so that was the intent of my first amendment, and I hope we got it right. Do you have a copy of the
You want to weigh
amendments?
in? Have you seen the language on the First
I have.
Amendment?
Yeah, we're good with it. We like it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, no, let's, just on this First Amendment.
So just on the First
Yeah, let's
Amendment
just
on the
stick with each
process, yeah.
Okay, on process. Now, just stick with that. Questions for, we'll go Senator Simonaire, Vice Chair Kagan, Senator Carrozza, just on this first, let's separate out these amendments.
Mine might tie into the bill itself because I have to understand that to understand the amendment.
Okay, well,
So you can go to the
why
amendment
don't we
first.
stick with the amendments and then we'll get to the underlying bill after we get, at least talk about the amendments, okay?
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Chair. I'm on page 20 in our packet, which is Amendment 523522/1. Senator Hester, 2A, or Paul. The procedure shall, at a minimum, require the county to provide a letter to the department from the county's legislative body, county executive, or local delegation to the General Assembly supporting the proposed changes. First off, I find that a little confusing, and second off, why is that an or, and what if, I think there's a lot of confusion, the local, so can you just take a look at 2A and maybe explain that in plain English? I don't know what the department from the county's legislative body, I don't even know what that references.
So, yeah, it's depending, that's the term we use for broadly county council or county commission, depending on what type of county you have, the county's legislative body.
To the department from the county's legislative.
Right, so they have, we can wordsmith, but they have require the county to provide a letter to the department.
Okay, sorry, to the department is DNR.
Yes.
So the county council or county commissioners would send a letter to DNR
Yeah, it
from
could-
them.
It could either, but it could come from the county commissioner.
Or from the county executive,
Or
or
the
from the
county
del-
executive, or
I-
the delegation.
Thank you. Okay, that's now clear to me. I don't know what my problem was. Thank you, sorry.
We're gonna, let's
It's
go
a
to,
word salad, you're not wrong.
okay, Senator Carrozza?
So, looking at the amendment, and we had a brief discussion after the session yesterday. Under the underlying bill, and now with this amendment, a county has the flexibility to come to the department and work out their kind of personalized Sunday hunting arrangements, meaning that, and I think it might be good just to understand before we talk about what a county is changing, to make sure we all understand what the current is. I think one of my examples is some of us who represent more than one county. I look at my 3 counties, I'm thinking, okay, 2 of them might be fine with the regulations as proposed, but one of them may want to, have more limits on the time on Sunday or more limits on what species. So how would that work even before this amendment? And then how would you implement this amendment?
So the counties could, they can opt in or opt out now as has occurred.
Completely.
Completely or for part of it. If you didn't want, a particular species hunted in your district, you could do that in the legislative context, right? You could say, we don't want squirrel hunting, not being flipped, but just as a simple example in, Wycomico County on Sundays, that's a simple carve out. That's no different than we only want 10:30 for the deer hunting. After the fact, I don't think anything changes except that we would be doing that in Comar instead of in statute. So we would get a letter from the body that says we would like to make this change. To the extent that it's authorized under the law, we would run that through our regulatory framework.
Okay.
Yes, Senator Simoneau?
So I'll come back to the big picture, but, so I'm going to do a Senator Carrozza about process. So if I'm looking at this amendment, so the department will establish procedures, then there's a request by one of these three government entities, and then consultation with stakeholders. What's next? What happens after that, once you've done that?
So then we take it formally, we would post these into the regulatory system, ELF. I don't know what the acronym stands for.
Does that go through AELR? Is that
It would. Then the next step is AELR would pick it up, and then it's posted to the Maryland Register for the requisite time. And then we review the comments from the Register. If there are substantive changes, we would re-promulgate, re-adopt, new public comments, et cetera.
Okay, so it's going to take a request. I'm just trying to think procedurally. Say you have a county executive who wants to do one thing, but a county council wants to do it different, or the General Assembly wants. How do you handle that?
It hasn't happened yet. We've had counties have come to us and said, we had a county that wanted to change the zone where they were going to have rifle hunting versus straight wall and shotgun hunting. And as far as we could tell, there was unanimity among the sort of two bodies. So we got a letter from both. I guess the answer would be, if there wasn't unanimity, we'd probably ask them to work that out versus forcing us to break the tie.
Okay.
And just back on process, just looking again at page 20 in the we really have three separate amendments. So right now, we're just talking about amendment number 1. There's an amendment number 2 from Senator Hester, amendment number 3. So I want to separate out these three if possible for Senator Hester. So right now, we have amendment number 1 in front of us. I'm sorry.
I mean, I was truly trying to help clarify the process. Because when we talked last night, you said that there was something in another part of the code, but like, this is a big change for us in the next 4 years, right? And it was, I understand that there's going to be the regulatory process that moves the laws into the regs. But then the question that I asked yesterday, which I don't think that there was an answer for, is like, after those regs are in place, what is the process for changing the regs? And so I'm hoping that this is, I mean, I'm open for suggestions, but this is what, after talking to Mr. Pedito and committee council, we came up with.
Senator Simoneau?
And we have the expert AELR person here now, but there is a current public process to the regulations, correct? Where people can weigh in and so forth. So I'm just trying to figure, there's nothing binding in this amendment to allow it to go forward or not go forward, correct? This is just give us some input, or is this you have to have this before you can move forward?
I would read this as requiring us to follow this process. More importantly, I read this as us publicizing what the process is, because frankly, the senator's right. Our regulatory authority in Title 10 is very broad. It says in 10205, having due regard for the abundance and distribution and habitat of certain species, blah, 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 the department may establish regulations. You can make the argument that's a little bit kind of vague and broad. So this narrows some of that scope. Having done regulations for 30 years, this is fine with us. I don't think this derails anything we do. It puts a finer point on our process in statute, but I'm okay with it.
Additional questions? Senator Washington, welcome.
I agree. Yeah, it's the may, and I think the shall is helpful, making sure that that there will be, yeah, so that's what I wanted to add. That I don't think if they have a problem, this isn't inconsistent with what we can and do.
Okay. Senator Hester, just on amendment number 1, do you want to just move the amendment?
I would move the amendment.
Okay. Is there a second from the vice chair? Just any further discussion just on amendment number 1 on page 20? Okay. Okay. All in favor of amendment number 1 from Senator Hester, raise your hand. All opposed, motion carries. Let's move to amendment number 2. Just to refresh everybody's memory, this is at the bottom, page 20, moving over to the end of page 21. Senator Hester, just again, the intent here is for everybody, including Senator Washington, the intent of amendment number 2, just to rehash.
So the intent of number 2 is there's already a report that's required in the bill as introduced, and so this just expands it slightly to ensure that we're actually getting any relevant data on, safety issues, and that instead of waiting for 4 years to get a report from the department, we actually get, something, earlier, so that we kind of can keep track on this over the next 4 years. Once again, it's getting us one report from the department instead of getting, multiple hunting bills every year.
Okay, Mr. Petito, anything you want to weigh in on this? And we'll go to Senator Washington next, just on amendment number 2.
We're good with this. Thank you.
Okay. Senator Washington on amendment number 2.
Just clarify, this isn't turning the entire bill into a study. I just wanted to put it out there, because that's been out there. I just wanted to clarify that, get that on the record. Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. Senator Hester, would you like to move amendment number 2? Okay, amendment number 2 has been moved by the sponsor, second by the vice chair. Further discussion on Hester amendment number 2. Okay, all in favor of Hester amendment number 2, raise your hand. All opposed, motion carries. And finally, let's move to Hester amendment number 3, which is on page 22. And again, Senator Hester, just rehash for the body, for the committee, your intent on Senate Bill 1063, Hester amendment number 3.
So it was, in my multiple conversations with the Senate sponsor, it was my understanding that Howard County was kind of like remained out of Sunday hunting. And then we had a back and forth yesterday where I was talking about the crop damage permits and the new deer management permits, and I said, are we out of both? And there was some confusion. My understanding is that we're actually, while it says that we're out in the bill, that we'll actually get caught up in the second permit. And so what I'm hoping, and council can confirm, is that what this amendment does is it makes sure that the counties who are really out of Sunday hunting are still kind of in the same posture they were before the bill was introduced.
Well, and I will just clarify something, because my understanding is that currently, if you've got the crop damage permit, that can authorize Sunday hunting, even in the counties where it's generally,
And so
that stays as is. But this amendment would say with these new deer damage permits, where there's a slightly lower threshold to get them, that, no, those would not be able to authorize Sunday hunting in Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Howard County, and Prince George's County.
Okay, questions? Okay, Mr. Petito, anything on that issue, just since you're here, and then before we?
No, committee council's spot on, and we're okay with that. We'll respect the local request.
Okay. Okay, well, Senator Hester, would you want to just move this third amendment?
Just checking with Prince George's County.
Let me just make sure, because I was going to ask April a question. So Prince George's County is opted out of the bill, and within Prince George's County, there is no migratory birds, right?
Right, so let's keep migratory birds separate. 'Cause
Okay.
right now, the
Okay.
bill, as it came over from the House, no Sunday hunting of migratory birds.
In
But
Prince George's County?
Anywhere,
Anywhere?
anywhere.
Okay.
The bill as it came over from the House, Prince George's County, the department could not expand any Sunday hunting in Prince George's County through this regulatory process.
Okay.
However, as it came over from the House, it did leave open this door of, if you get one of these deer damage permits, you could potentially have Sunday hunting. Senator Hester's amendment closes that loophole. Still no Sunday hunting in Prince George's County.
Okay. I like it.
Okay, any additional questions? Okay, Senator Hester?
So I would move the amendment.
Okay, we're on Hester amendment number 3, a motion from the sponsor, second
We
from
still
Senator
have the crop
Watson.
damage permits.
Okay,
We just don't want these other permits.
everybody, any other questions before we take a vote? Okay. Just on amendment number 3. All in favor of amendment number 3 from Senator Hester, raise your hand. Okay, all opposed, that motion carries, which brings us to the Bailey Amendment, which does get to, I think, the topic of migratory game birds, which I'm going to turn to April to explain the Bailey Amendment, which is the final amendment being proffered here.
Right, so Senator Bailey's amendment would essentially put migratory game birds, Sunday hunting, back into the bill. It would say that the department may allow a person to hunt migratory game birds on Sunday in accordance with federal law. So that's one piece of it. The other piece of it has to do with this District 43A issue, but maybe we could separate those two issues as well.
So we got two separate issues, the 43A issue in the one amendment, and then this issue of the migratory birds. So let's open up some questions just on either one of those two issues for April and figure out on the bill. Yeah, let's start with Senator Washington.
It's possible to, don't need amendment number 2, can handle it. There's another way to handle it, so I don't need that, to accept that, particularly with the inclusion of Sunday, the other portions of the bill.
Let's talk about maybe the Bailey Amendment as a whole. I think there's not, we have to see if we're even passing the Bailey Amendment. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Let's take a broader conversation here about the Bailey Amendment. Okay, Senator Watson?
The migratory birds allowing that apply to Prince George's County?
My interpretation of the bill would be no. I mean, just because there is a broad prohibition on Sunday hunting in Baltimore County, Baltimore City, Prince George's, and Howard. Let me just look one more time, just to make absolutely sure, but I believe not.
Let me know.
Okay. Okay, Senator Carrozza, and I would say, I think I've had some chat with Senator Gay. I mean, we've gotten a lot of, in the House, I mean, I think putting the migratory birds back in then generates opposition from other folks, kind of, there's some, that's sort of apparently a hot topic here. But anyway, let's just, back to you, Senator Carrozza, and we can have a conversation. I think maybe Senator Gallion may have some thoughts on it. I'm not sure. Yeah.
I support putting migratory birds right in, and I'll tell you why, because the way the regs are set up, and from what I just understand from the Hester Amendment, a county can go in and take out, I may have a county that wants to do deer but not migratory, and this, as I understand the bill and the regulations and the Hester Amendment, you can customize that for the county. Might have 2 other counties that want to do, deer hunting, migratory birds, and full day. So to me, this still gives absolute leeway again to the counties, but allows for migratory bird hunting on Sunday. So I support this amendment.
Okay. Anybody else just on this, the migratory bird topic, or more broadly on the Bailey Amendment?
And I am confirming that, no, you could not hunt migratory birds in Prince George's or those other counties under this bill.
Okay, have you been in touch with, anybody from I know, I'll just be, maybe I shouldn't throw names. Who's Lindsay Thompson represents, who, I know Farm Bureau and others, whoever that group is, who is it? Yeah, I mean, there seems to be, again, some conflict there that the way it came from the House, they're good with, but if the migratory birds thing throws all those various groups. I'm just putting it out there because I know I've gotten some emails, so I just don't want anybody to think there's some big kumbaya issue on the migratory bird topic. Just kind of looking through the favorable, unfavorable topic. Anybody else have any insight on this topic, on Mr. Petito, have you heard from folks, around the state on the specific migratory bird topic? I'm not expert on this. I'm just channeling what I've heard buzzed out there. I just want to make sure everybody knows before we take a vote what we're voting for or against.
Yeah, I appreciate the chance to comment, Mr. Chair. As I said in the hearing, we didn't get to unanimity on this bill. That's why it's sort of still a bit of a patchwork. But we spent 8 months trying to thread the needle where everybody would get to the point where they were grudgingly willing to go along with the bill. What I would say about migratory game birds is a couple things. One, we've surveyed our hunters using an independent, scientifically sound study group, and 75 to 78% of the migratory game bird hunters, the single most important thing to them is adding more opportunity. The only opportunity left is on Sundays. As I said yesterday, with Governor Healy adding it in Massachusetts about a week ago, Governor Shapiro adding it in Pennsylvania last year, Delaware the year before, we're sort of left all by ourselves in this space. As it relates to the species impacts, the federal government assumes we are hunting on Sundays when they give us our sort of allocation for migratory game bird hunting. So it really doesn't change the model from their perspective. They've always assumed that we have the maximum opportunity and we're using it. So as a purely scientific equation, adding these days today doesn't change what they're going to do for us. More importantly, we've sort of been in this posture where they've always assumed we were doing it. Okay. And there's 27 states and provinces and territories that are involved in the decision-making from, northern Quebec down to Florida. There's a lot of eyes on this process. No individual jurisdiction can sort of, do what they want without somebody else checking it.
Okay, let's go Senator Hester Watson, Vice Chair Kagan. Okay, Senator Watson.
Yeah, no, I'm just reading a message from the House sponsor that was talking about the issue with the birds. So it's 4 hunting days a year for 4 specific groups? Does that make any sense?
So that amendment is, that was a nuanced piece of the original bill. That's out. What I would say, Senator, is we are talking about, like, for Canada goose hunting, we're talking about, half the state. There's a whole bunch of states that don't have those particular birds in them, or a whole bunch of counties in the state that don't have them. And generally, you're talking about like 6 days of hunting in mid-December to the end of January.
Right.
So not a lot of other people out. And remember, this bill is concentrated on private land. That's what we're talking about here.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, Senator Hester, questions?
I mean, I do want to note, it's not limited to private land, though. The bill broadly authorizes the department, because the current statute, I mean, has different rules for public and private land, so it's not just about public and private land.
If I could, I'm definitely not going to argue with you, April. But the piece of the bill that says we may not authorize on our state parks still remains.
Sure, but there's public land that's open for hunting, including Sunday hunting.
Right, as a
now.
practical matter, though, because we've been tinkering with this since 2003, all of those lands have already been opened to Sunday hunting. And they're mostly in Garrett, Allegheny, Washington, Cecil, St. Mary's, where they've expanded completely. So I'm definitely not trying to argue. I just want to point out there's a practical element to that.
Let's go to Senator Hester, Vice Chair Kagan, Senator Washington.
I was trying to understand the question that Senator Carrozza asked, which is about, could not this be handled at the local level? Like, since we've got the process now for them to change the regs, is the decision we're making now whether or not the migratory waterfowl are in or out of the regs?
Essentially, because the right now, current law, there is a blanket prohibition everywhere in the state. You cannot hunt migratory waterfowl on Sundays. So with this amendment, it would essentially just it would get rid of that blanket prohibition and sort of roll it into this county by county, it's just, it would say that, it would essentially put it to the department to regulate it, would be my reading of the bill. If we add the amendment. Yes, as it would, status quo, which is just, there is no Sunday hunting anywhere in the state of migratory waterfowl.
Hey, Vice Chair Kagan, and I know Chair Gazzoni's a big Sunday hunting kind of guy, and he just walked into a controversial topic here. Okay, Vice Chair Kagan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll speak now so that I don't have to come back and speak again. I want to start by saying I think Senator Bailey has been a really thoughtful leader and collaborative for many, many months. And so for the first time, I'm going to vote for the bill. I'm not so sure about this amendment, though. I think we ought to do big step at a time. He made the case that this has been going on for eons, and I think we can see how this next big step goes, but I'm not so sure about reopening all things any Sunday in these seasons. And I pulled up the Maryland hunting seasons calendar for 2025, 2026, and it is long and complicated, and every animal is different, and it goes from what type of animal and what kind of weapon, and they are all different in all the different places and all the different months. And I just think that clarity while making progress and giving hunters the opportunity to get out there and enjoy their hobby seems like a prudent thing. I'm not yet persuaded about this amendment.
Okay, and Senator Washington, among other things, we still have to deal with this except in legislative District 43A. I wasn't quite sure.
Well, that's where I'm trying to clarify.
Yeah.
The bill sponsor was saying that this was only on private property, and so now I'm trying to, if that is not the case, then, I mean, if it is only private property, then I would take the 43rd District out. But if it is not only private, and if our parks are open to that, then I would say that I did not ask that to be included in Bailey's amendment. It is included in another bill, which is probably why he put it in there. I'm happy with where it is in Senator Attara's bill, so I don't need this to be a part of the Bailey amendment.
Okay.
That's what
Okay, we can take that up
Yeah.
separately.
Yeah.
Okay, hopefully we can get Senator Hester back in here. Okay, why don't we, maybe we take up Senator Washington's verbal amendment to just get rid of that on page 11 in line 27 after city, insert except in legislative District 43A. Okay, Senator Washington would like to get that reference out of this amendment. And there was a motion from the senator from District 43, second from Senator Harris, just on that one piece of the bill, of that amendment, the Bailey amendment. All raise your hand. Okay, so we're going to take that language out. Now we still have the underlying amendment from Senator Bailey to have to take a vote on. And before we do that, let's make sure Senator Washington has all the information she needs before we take a vote. Yeah.
Choose between the Senate version or the House version, right?
Well, right now we have the House bill in front of us.
We're talking about the House bill now.
Correct, and we're dealing with amendments to the House bill. Senator Bailey will take up next. My expectation would be is if we do pass this, we would conform the Bailey bill to what we're doing here in the House bill. So, but they're two separate bills, but that's kind of process-wise what could make sense.
I'm a little confused because everybody's talking amendments.
Sure.
For Prince George's County, there is no migratory game hunting of birds and no Sunday hunting. Is that true or false?
True.
True, okay.
There are no migratory game birds. I don't know if there are migratory game birds.
Yeah,
hunted,
if I
yeah.
could, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
But
So
you would not be able to do Sunday hunting of migratory game birds, even if the blanket prohibition on Sunday hunting of migratory game birds.
Okay, all right.
And that actually flows to Baltimore County, Howard County, Prince George's County, and if I could, I just want to offer all respect to the Vice Chair, and I appreciated your comments. The one thing I will say is without the migratory game bird provisions, there's sort of nothing left for us to study. I don't know what I would report back out on, because this doesn't really create an expansion. There's some nuance in there. Wicomico County loses their 1030 restriction. The 10206 hunting permits, because of the way they're crafted, that's going to be a handful of people in a handful of places. And very practically, in terms of opportunity for the hunting community, that's sort of the only thing left to do, is authorize those days. I know, Madam Vice Chair, it looks like we're expanding like all things to all people everywhere, but if you take out those sort of principal suburban counties, if you will, all the other counties are already all in and have been. Garrett, Allegheny, Washington, Cecil, St. Mary's, Frederick largely, Carroll largely. Montgomery County actually has a lot of Sunday hunting days without the migratory bird provision added in. You're picking up a handful of days, again, on private land, so mostly this is ag reserve. I just have to say practically, without the migratory bird provision in here, I'm going to have a hard time reporting out anything new. Oh, I know the chart well. But that's all Monday through Saturdays in there too, sort of.
Can I, and then we're going to have to sort of close things up. I do have a text from somebody. Can I just read it to you and you can respond? Quote, "That's not true. The bill would potentially authorize the department to allow any hunter to hunt any migratory bird starting with dove season in September through snow goose season, mid-April, every Sunday statewide."
Sure.
Okay, is that an accurate statement?
It's perhaps technically accurate, but it's not practically accurate. We could have deer season every day of the year under existing law. We clearly don't have deer firearms. We limit deer firearms season to 2 weeks of the year plus 2 days, largely in December and a little bit in January, because we know that there's no way we could pull off culturally and socially a deer hunting season in July. So we're very careful about how we use this authority that all of you have granted us from this bill that existed in, the 18th century. So yes, practically we could have a dove season that could start in September on a Sunday. Keep in mind, that's about 7,000 people in the entire state who could go. So it's a very small number of people across the entire state. So you can.
We have the Bailey Amendment in front of us. Does everybody have enough information to take a vote on the Bailey Amendment, or do you want to defer until next voting session? I mean, I want to make sure, however we vote this Bailey Amendment, everybody feels comfortable they have enough information to actually, do the vote. Sure.
Just circling back to the point that Senator Watson made earlier, the counties that are currently exempt for Sunday hunting, if we add the Bailey Amendment in, those counties are still exempt. Okay.
Okay, Vice Chair Kagan?
Thank you. Still on this website, dnr.maryland.gov/huntersguide/documents/hunting underbar seasons underbar calendar.pdf if anybody wants to watch. Sunday turkey hunting. Paul, you keep saying public lands or private lands. What it says on here is it's separated by counties. So Calvert, Caroline, Carroll, Charles, Kent, and Queen Anne's are private lands only. When you go to Dorchester, it's private and public. Some are, I can read the whole thing, but that's tedious. Some are public, some are private, some are designated public lands and private lands and all stuff. I think we've got, when we're talking about this, I think precision's important, because we hear how Senator Watson and Senator Hester and many of us are concerned about the local impact. So I think painting with a broad brush isn't quite precise enough, at least for me. Because it's clear that they're all different.
And a lot of that is, if I could, Senator,
Please.
that's born of the fact that some counties have literally opted in for their public lands. But again, parks are specifically codified as unauthorized. And we can't authorize a county park. We couldn't authorize a city park. and we can't authorize any state park, any state natural resource management area, any state natural environmental area. The only places, and all of those have been open for years, that you're looking at are more wild spaces that are managed largely for hunters.
That's fine,
So-
but when you say it's only this, and then your
I'm saying
website
that-
doesn't say that.
Well, I'm saying that in terms of what it looks like prospectively, going forward.
Thank you.
I got you.
Okay.
I'll be more
Dubious.
precise.
I appreciate it.
Respect
Thank
that.
you.
Okay, Senator Washington.
What would help us, or help me, would be when you say, I can't do this, or could you say Title 10 - subtitle 803, so we can see the words, and it's not the website, it's not, but actually, what is law? Because law and practice, even though in practice, you're not executing to the letter of the law, if the letter of the law, that's what one can go by. So when you say that this title, this subtitle is only referring to private lands and not parks, if you could tell us exactly where in the natural resources article that's made clear.
I appreciate that, Senator, and that's a very fair and reasonable thing to ask. In the House version of the bill, I believe it's page 7, and it's line 21, which is now 16 Romanet I, where it says, or 15. Oh, I'm sorry, in 10.4.10.
Okay.
And in 10.4.10, again, I'm looking at the amended version of the bill, it's
A14.
A14. Thank you, Council.
Under hunting restrictions,
In the natural resources article and wildlife,
game birds or mammal hunting restrictions.
and in 10.4.10, if you scroll down, and we did that in 2018, I believe, at the request of the House Chair to make sure that every time we have the discussion about Sunday hunting, there's a provision in there that restricts the authority to establish Sunday hunting in any of our, in any park.
Can I just wait?
State park system.
Can I just?
Sorry.
Okay, Senator, do you mind if because I'm getting a lot of people are watching this apparently, and they're all texting me, of course. And I think my sense of from the back and forth is, and this also relates to, I don't know how to factor this in, is, where the House is on this issue. I want to be careful, kind of how we do this to not inadvertently be throwing bills in that are going to kill the bill. I want everybody to make sure we understand everything. So unless there's a real objection, I'll take some feedback. Would anybody be opposed to us? Right now, we adopted the 3 Hester amendments. We have the Bailey amendment. I think is really relevant to whether the bill is going to make it through. I want to make sure we do it right, and so maybe punting this to the next voting session to get some clarity. But if everybody wants to roll it, I'm okay with that. But I want to get a little feedback because I'm getting mixed messages from the committee via text that they're. So any thoughts? Come on. Give me some feedback. Otherwise, we can roll it. We can go to next voting session. We could do anything.
One thing.
Some people would like to talk to Senator Bailey about this some more. I'm just being candid with you guys.
I'm okay with holding off one more time, but just to note, we have already put an amendment on here that makes it different than the House version. So it's going to end up potentially at some point in a conference anyway, just to kind of put that out there.
I think that's fair. I still would say that this amendment is significant, and therefore, for those of you who want to talk to the sponsor, want to talk to the House sponsor, want to get as much information before we cast a vote on the Bailey amendment, I think that would be prudent. I mean, so, we're not going to vote tomorrow, but I think we could take this up first up on Tuesday and send it back to the House. And but I'd like to make sure everybody's talked to everybody they feel, whether it's I mean, even in this voting session, we had Senator Watson corresponding with the House sponsor. I got folks Senator Bailey's office, I've got others, so I just kind of am feeling like that might be not a bad way to play it.
I appreciate it, because, again, I think I'm fine because we're in it's in the other link of the other bill, but when they say that they may not hunt on public land, it is within the state park system. It is not talking about local parks or anything, so there doesn't appear to be a global prohibition. Yeah, so I'm good with that, yeah.
Okay, guys, we're going to take this first bill up Tuesday voting session and get as much information you can about this amendment, and then we'll take a vote. Yeah, I mean, we could even maybe take it up before the bill hearings on Tuesday. Okay, we're good? Okay, that's the work of today and for the week. And no voting tomorrow, so have a good weekend. I'll see you tomorrow on the floor.